All right, so we've got this uh, big stack of articles all about crypto scams.
Yeah.
And particularly, we're looking at Hong Kong today.
Right.
Basically, the idea is we want to give you the tools to sort of spot these things yourself and to kind of safeguard yourself in the crypto world.
Definitely.
Because it really is a bit of a Wild West out there.
It is a Wild West.
Full of promise, but also full of peril.
Yeah, I mean, the possibility of getting rich quick is definitely there with cryptocurrency,
Right.
but that attracts scammers,
Of course. Yeah.
They're like moths to a flame, and Hong Kong is kind of a unfortunate breeding ground,
Yeah.
being a global financial hub.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess kind of a first step here would be just to define, what are we even talking about when we say crypto scam?
That's a good point.
What is it?
Well, I mean, at the heart of it, it's really exploiting people's desire to make easy money.
Right.
And often they'll use very complex terminology, very complex, like, technology and jargon,
Yeah.
to kind of make it sound very exclusive, like you're getting in on some secret.
Right, right.
One of the articles had a really interesting way of classifying scams
Oh, yeah.
by degrees, almost like, criminal charges.
Oh, wow. Okay, degrees of scam.
Degrees of scams, yeah.
All right.
Break that down for us.
So think of it this way.
Okay.
Third-degree scams are the most blatant, outright theft.
Right.
So this is your classic rug pull,
Uh-huh.
where developers drain all the funds and they just disappear.
Wow.
Or infamous schemes like OneCoin.
Yeah.
Then you have second-degree scams, which are these projects that are designed to eventually fail,
Okay.
but they'll make a quick buck for the creators along the way.
Gotcha.
And then there's the first-degree scams,
Okay.
which are, projects that may have started with good intentions,
Uh-huh.
but they collapse due to unforeseen flaws or mismanagement.
I see. I see. So it's like levels of like premeditation almost.
Kinda, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so, for someone who's maybe new to the crypto space, what are some red flags they could look out for?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the big ones is pre-mining.
Okay.
And this is where a large portion of tokens are set aside for insiders
Right.
before the project is even launched publicly.
So they're like rigging the game from the start.
Exactly. It's like dealing yourself extra cards in poker,
Yeah.
and they can then manipulate the market, and they have an unfair advantage over regular investors.
Yeah, totally. So it's not even a fair game
Not at all.
from the get-go.
Yeah, and you can actually research a project's token distribution
Right.
to see if this is happening.
Okay.
Look for transparency in how tokens are allocated.
Okay, so even if a project seems to have a fair launch,
Right.
are there other things that they can do to kind of
Oh,
pull
absolutely.
the rug out?
Yeah. Another thing to look out for is mutable code.
Mutable code.
So you hear a lot about blockchain being decentralized and unchangeable,
Right.
but that's not always true.
Oh,
Some projects have the ability to change the code even after it's been launched.
wow.
Imagine playing a game where the rules can just change without you knowing. That's essentially what can happen.
Wow.
And this allows developers to benefit themselves at the expense of other people.
Right.
And it really undermines that whole idea of a decentralized system.
Yeah, so it's not enough to just assume that something is decentralized.
Yeah, you got to dig a little deeper.
Yeah. What other red flags should we be looking for?
Well, be wary of projects that overhype their utility.
Okay.
Do they solve a real world problem,
Yeah.
or are they just kind of inventing a problem to solve?
Right.
A lot of projects will exaggerate their usefulness
Sure.
to attract investors.
Yeah.
So you need to think critically. Ask yourself, does this project actually make sense?
Right.
What problem is it solving?
Right.
And is it doing it better than any existing solutions?
So we should be approaching these things with a healthy dose of skepticism. Yeah. Okay. One thing I noticed in the articles is there was some comparisons between Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum and Solana.
Right.
What was the takeaway there?
Yeah, well, the articles kind of highlight Bitcoin as this more transparent system.
Yeah.
It didn't have any pre-mining,
Right.
so no one had a head start.
Mm-hmm.
And the code is generally considered very, very secure.
Okay.
However, they do point out that Ethereum and Solana have faced some criticism
Yeah.
for having mutable code and more centralized decision-making processes,
I see.
which kind of contradicts the whole idea of a decentralized system.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I imagine that's a hot topic of debate in the crypto world.
Oh, huge.
Yeah. Okay, one of the articles I thought was really interesting, you got at some real-world examples
Yes.
of how these scams actually play out.
Right.
What were some of the things that stood out to you from those?
Well, I mean, what I found particularly concerning was the targeting of vulnerable populations,
Oh,
especially in emerging markets. They prey on people's hopes for financial inclusion.
yeah.
They promise solutions to economic challenges,
Wow.
which is really a form of exploitation that can have devastating consequences.
That's really sad. And it kind of highlights that, with any new technology,
Yeah.
there's this ethical component as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what to watch out for,
Right.
but what can our listeners actually do
Yeah.
to protect themselves?
Yeah.
How can they be smarter about how they invest?
Well, don't get caught up in the hype
Okay.
or the fear of missing out.
Right.
Often complex jargon masks a lack of substance.
Okay.
So take your time,
Yeah.
do your research, ask critical questions.
It's like with any investment, right? If
Yeah.
it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly.
What kind of research would you recommend?
Well, dig into the project's team.
Okay.
Who are they? What's their background?
Okay.
Look at their white paper, which should outline the project's goals and the technology involved.
Right.
Don't be afraid to get technical.
Yeah?
Is the code publicly available?
Right.
What are other experts saying about it?
Okay.
And check out the project's community. Is there genuine engagement?
Right.
Or does it just feel artificial?
Okay.
These are all clues to a project's legitimacy.
Yeah. So it sounds like transparency, decentralization, real-world utility,
Yes,
and a solid team. Those are the things we're looking for.
absolutely.
Okay, great advice. And I guess a final thought-provoking question for our listeners.
Yeah,
The articles that we looked at were focused on Hong Kong,
right.
but are these same scams happening
Yeah,
in other financial hubs around the world?
definitely.
And what are the global implications of that? This deep dive has given you the tools to start investigating.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening,
Thanks for having me.
and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.